Hello everybody, my name is Flesh177 and we are going to watch together my recent Celeste PV I just got. And yeah, so what I want to do is I want to give you a few insights about the Celeste run. I want to give you good commentaries, so I'm just going to record this and just talk about the run, what happened, and give you a few insights. I also have a little bit of chill background music, so it's not as boring to just listen to my voice, so you have also a few chill Celeste music. Why is my mouse not... Okay, now it's gone. So, this was the prologue. My prologue is really bad. I actually, compared to world record runners, I lose already 2 seconds here. I really didn't optimize it at any point. I need to jump a lot more often, and I need to cancel the cutscene at the very end a lot earlier. I need to look into that. So yeah, city. As far as I remember, my city was really bad. So, that was a little mistake. City is not as important for me personally. Like, it is really helpful to have a confident early game, but that was another big mistake. Lost a couple of seconds there, or maybe even just a second. I really don't know how much time that's losing, but yeah, my city was not that good, but I don't really focus on city that much. I recently started to practice a few things because I just want to get a little faster. But yeah, I tend to focus more on the mid game and late game, and I never really push times really far on the first 2 chapters because I'm not a reset heavy runner, and I just find late game practice a lot more important. But yeah, so far we had no death. And it's just general clean... Oh god. It's just general clean city gameplay so far. I think, yeah, we die here. I made one mistake because I remember the time I do have. I also used a slow setup here. I practiced already a faster setup. So this is I believe 1:15 city? 1:14 city. Funny enough, this is on the end file timer. It is 1:17, I believe, because of like how cutscenes and skipping cutscenes work in combination with the in-game timer and chapter timer. So the in-game timer keeps running, but the chapter timer stops at given cutscenes. So that's why the timer you see at the end of a chapter is not always accurate with the timer you have in your file at the end. So for example, this was a 1:14 city, but I'm pretty sure in the file at the end it was either a 1:16 or 1:17 city. So going to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is my more confident chapter, but if you look underneath my face cam, there is my previous PB. So chapter 2 was in my previous PB really good. It's really hard to not lose time in chapter 2 for me. Like I think it was a 1:56 in the run, and that's like really good. Like, I don't get consistently sub 2 minutes. Like, I can get 1:59s and 58s quite often, but it's still like 50-50. 50-50 over 2 minutes, 50-50 under 2 minutes. That was good. That was a little hiccup there. When you try to jump up a wall very quickly and you mess up your climb button hold downs, like you don't hold down climb long enough, then this stuff happens. So don't wonder if Celeste speedrunners make mistakes here and there. They just try to do fast inputs and it doesn't work out all the time. Lucky that I didn't die here. This is one room I tend to die because I keep misinputting. So yeah, I remember this time to be a 2:07, so like on the file timer, if I'm not wrong. So let's see where it goes. Like, where are the mistakes? But yeah, pretty much you can say about this run that the early game wasn't as good, but I still somehow managed to do it. Yeah, that's the part about Old Side. Old Side is in my opinion the easiest chapter to, or not the easiest chapter to be really good at, but it's for me personally the easiest chapter. But it has 2 really punishing rooms, and this is the room I just died in, and this room. These rooms are extremely punishing. Like, none of the city rooms are as punishing as this room, as these two rooms. And there are in the game just a few rooms who are on an equal level of punishment you may get from just tiny mess ups or from later deaths in like huge rooms. So that was a pretty huge time loss. That was, yeah, not so great. But this awake section should go fine. I'm pretty confident with my awake section. I used this awake section strat since so long. Not getting the corner boosts, but still doing quite phenomenal, I would say. That's actually a 203. It's a high 203. So it's quite crazy how much time it gets added per chapter. Bye-bye says something around 16 to 17 seconds are added to the file timer, even though your ILs are faster. So for example, if you count together all the ILs of each individual chapter, so just the chapter timer, you have to add another 16 to 17 seconds to the timer, and that is your final time you will see at the file. But you don't have to do the math yourself, just that you know it, because many people don't know that there's a difference between chapter timer and the full end game timer, or the full in-game timer at the end. End game timer, what is that? Okay, so chapter 3. Chapter 3 is the first, for most people, first really difficult chapter in a speedrun. The difficult part about chapter 3, in my opinion, is that every mistake can lead to a very critical death. Like, in most chapters you can make tiny timing mistakes, you can even make misinputs sometimes, and you don't die, or you just have to play the room slower. In this chapter, if you make a mistake, you lose either a ton of cycles, you have to change your strat entirely, but in most cases you just straight up die, because there's so many things in each room that can kill you. So that's my opinion on chapter 3. Chapter 3 has also the demo dash. I don't use demo button because I play on the console, so that's also a problem. And then we have a Shiro section at the end, which can be really punishing. Like, a Shiro section, the last room, is like so punishing if you die towards the end. And it has also a really difficult death cycle, in my opinion. But yeah, this was nearly a perfect beginning. Like around maybe a second, half a second, I'm slower than perfect for my standards, of for how I look at it. So yeah, huge mess room is not the most optimized. I never really put time into my huge mess room. This room is so difficult to optimize. Like, props to all top runners who are really good at this room. What was that? That was another tiny mistake, but nothing too huge. But yeah, huge mess room, I will optimize it one day, but not today or in the next month or two, I believe. So, but overall, huge mess section itself, this spike jump, I failed it once, but it's okay. I didn't die, so who cares? Still reaching that button on sub 2, so I'm fine with it. Like, when I reach that button on sub 2, I know I played so far better than average, I would say. Or around average. So these are like, at some points in the run, I do have like moments where I just look at the timer and I know, okay, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm in a good pace, I'm in a bad pace. So just continuing here. Sorry that there's city music, even though this is resort. I just put a playlist on in the background. So no major mistakes on the book section. That was a tiny little time loss. Going for the hyper, missing the hyper, but I didn't die, so who cares? For the ultra, sorry, I was going for an ultra there. And yeah, it's going so far pretty well. Not dying here. The next room is the other important one of the section. I'm trying to go for the fast cycle, but I died before I even reached the cycle point. So I had to go for a slower cycle. So around 3-4 seconds time loss with the death, maybe even 5. Like I would say 4 second time loss, to be honest, because the slower cycle is just 2 seconds slower, and the death cost probably around 2 seconds. as well, maybe even 3, because I was a little bit into the room. Anyways, we go into shaft section. If I have good resorts, I make huge mistakes in this section. Don't ask me why. Maybe other Celeste runners can relate to this, but in this room and the next room, or actually in every room in shaft section, if I have a good resort, I need to survive shaft section because I tend to die a lot here. Like, a Shiro section is not that big of a deal, or I never experienced a Shiro section being really that terrible. Oh god. I never really experienced a Shiro section being that terrible on a good pace. But shaft section is always terrible. There I died once to demo dash, the trick where you can dash through the wall, because I did the wrong demo dash input. As I said, I don't use demo buttons, so that can actually be a thing for me. I just don't use it because I don't have the opportunity to it. That was a silly death. I tried to go for a dash jump, but I missed it. So I just dashed over the entire platform. So I had a very slow start in the Sushiro section, but I recovered quite nicely from it. And I think there are no major mistakes anymore happening here. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, overall I would say that... Oh, that was really close. But yeah, overall I would say that is a okayish resort. I can get sub 5. I can definitely get sub 5. I can also get like very low 5s. And if there is no mistake here, that should be a 5.7, 5.8. Oh god, I didn't remember how long this room is. It's a 5.9. So maybe I did some, like, maybe I read something wrong. But if I'm not wrong, this is a 5.13 in the as a full time, so not the best resort. Resort is definitely, if I want to PB again, one of the bigger time saves I can get. Like resort and 5B, but 5B you will see later what happened there. Are the big time saves I do have. So it's quite unfortunate that these are the big time saves, and the early game I can also save like a couple of seconds there with my current strats. I will tell you later why this is quite unfortunate to have the time saves there, in my opinion. I just probably are not really familiar with saving time in the early game and then carrying it out in the late game, because it can be quite nerve-wracking. But yeah, let's talk later about this, like in chapter 6 or chapter 7. So going into chapter 4, before I had a break, so if you don't know, I had a 1 month break before I got this PB. I actually made a video about this. And before that break, I practiced a lot of chapter 4. Like, in the recent time of me practicing very specific things, or dedicating a lot of time towards one section of the run, I would say the most time I dedicated was towards chapter 4. Like, I just not really practiced new things, but just being more consistent on everything, because in the past I had a hard time with most of the chapter 4 setups really, so I just tried to improve on them. That was very slow, and we also had a few not optimally used strats in the beginning. But other than that, this is still looking good. We will probably reach the auto-scroll room at 102. Okay, I had to do a little cut because the dog who was sleeping in my room want to go out. So I just will go back a little bit in time. Okay, not that much. That should be fine. So we are reaching the auto-scroller room at 103. That is really fine with me. Like anything below 105 is like average, and like sub 1 is like really good, and I can get definitely sub 1 to auto-scroller room. Don't die to it. I also don't go for the ultra dash in the auto-scroller room because I hate that setup. It's one of the worst tricks I tried to learn. Eventually I have to learn it, but I don't know when I will learn it, to be honest. I have such a hard time with that one. Other than that, so far, really good section. I'm missing that bunny hop to the upper moving block, so losing a little bit of time here, but sub 150 reaching this block is like really good for me. I know I can get a low 3 or even a sub 3 if I play phenomenal from now on, so that's all I need to know. Because as you see below my screen, you see my times from my previous PB, 3:20 in chapter 4, a lot of time to save here potentially. And as I progress, I try to save obviously that time. That was a very silly mistake. I just didn't have enough faith into my bunny hop, so I tried to hyper again. I really don't know what happened there, but my brain like turned off for a second. Had to grab the wall there, had to go for the slower strat, but it's not that big of a deal. It probably is like 0.5 to 1 second slower. Getting the strat here. Sometimes I really have a hard time getting that strat. It can be really, really daunting. And oh. Yeah, I was a little shaky here, I believe. I was a little shaky because I saw myself getting a really good time. Maybe I wasn't really focused because at this point I was still talking a lot in stream. I was talking a lot with the people. I just got a raid, so I was talking with the guy who raided me. I think I actually blamed him in the chat, like, oh, because I was talking to you, I messed up so many things, like blaming just as a joke, you know. So yeah, I wasn't really paying attention to this run that much. I wasn't really thinking about PBing in this run, even at this point. At this point I was like, okay, this is just a regular, okay-ish average run, which will be at the end of maybe a 34 or a lower 33, mid 33. I wasn't thinking that this is going to be me. But let's head into Mirror Temple. Mirror Temple, obviously, for me personally, the biggest deal. Because the moment you get into Mirror Temple, like, first of all, my tape is not optimal. Like, really, a lot of things I could improve on. Silly death there, so lost a lot of time there for just this room. This room where you shouldn't die at all. Like, if you die in that room, you mess up big times, as I did. So yeah, my tape isn't as optimized, and obviously, 5B with the Bob's drop, with that super tight, important trick is also a thing. And yeah, Bob's drop makes me nervous all the time. It actually makes me more nervous the moment I get it than beforehand. But yeah, if I'm on a good pace, which I'm currently not, this is not really a great pace. It's like a good one. It's like above average, I would say, but it's not like, oh my god, I could PB potentially here. I wasn't really thinking about this. Anyways, yeah, dying a ton of times here. Like, this was a really, really bad tape room. I just got nervous again. The moment I get the first death in tape room, I have a hard time recovering because I get so much out of my rhythm. And obviously there's a rhythm change in this room consistently. So I just have a hard time recovering from a death in tape room. Okay, cut out what I said. That was a good run, but it wasn't like the best run. I quickly reset my capture card because sometimes there's an audio issue. And actually, how funny it is, the playlist I chose to play in the background of this video is playing 5B music, so that's what we are getting into. 5B, beautiful music. One of my favorite tracks in the entire game. It's such a chill banger. So yeah. That was the biggest benefit of running 5B in a full run. You get to hear this music all the time, even though in a run you're not really able to pay attention to. There, I thought I had to reset to skip a cutscene, so that's why I went into the menu just to realize there's no cutscene. So I lost like 1 or 2 seconds to the menu there, maybe even more. It's like really hard for me to say how much time I sat by just looking at it. But yeah, that was like my brain turning off again for a quick moment. So yeah, here it comes, Bubs Drop. I use a very slow setup, but this is the most consistent for me. I look more on consistency than on speed on Bubs Drop so far, and I failed it. It was like not too many frames away from getting it, but yeah, this is a really tight trick. It's okay to fail it, so I kept on going for it. I failed it a second time, so 2 Bubs Drop misses, which are already like what, 20 to 25 seconds of time lost by just missing that like few frame trick twice. Yeah, Celeste became really punishing at the day this trick got involved, but we got it third try. Really good, so I need to push. And I believe besides these 2 Bubs Drop misses, this is a really good mirror temple, or a really good 5B. So this long room, sometimes if I don't get the beginning correct, I have a hard time figuring out on which cycle I am. I get more consistent on it, I know where I have to look at, and now I just get the cycle most of the times and get through the room very consistently. This is the other long room before the mirror part of Mirror Temple. So yeah, these 2 rooms, after Bubs Drop, you get 2 very long rooms who are so punishing if you die on them. Luckily, we survived both. This is the third and pretty much last extremely long room in Mirror Temple. There's one later who's really long and really, really punishing, but still, the average room of 5B is much more punishing than any other room in this game. Not getting the Seeker on the switch, but the explosion triggers the switch. So nice there. Don't get the strat correctly executed here, but had a nice backup, had a nice recovery. Really creative, just waiting on the switch. Nice and slowly, but it works. Getting through these rooms good, and even though I had a few mistakes, this is still like fine for me. Like, this was still a good 5B. I didn't die in these rooms, so I shouldn't really say, oh god, I lost a lot of time. Here, this room, I played completely wrong, and I still somehow survived, so shoutouts to myself dodging that Seeker, or shoutouts to that Seeker being able to dodge him. Because if you mess up that room I just talked about, the Seekers can mess you up so easily if you just do tiny mistakes. Here's the first death of 5B, besides the Bubs Drop misses, I believe. I think I just mistimed my dash, or I didn't grab Theo. I don't know, really. And yeah, still a 231. 230. No, 231. 32 even. 232 with on a Bubs Drop reset, so that would have been a 302 maybe. If I got Bubs Drop first try. Which is fine for me. Like, my best is 245. My average is maybe like 310. So it was better than average. Still, this was the biggest time loss in the entire run because of the 2 Bubs Drop misses and the very bad tape. I lost like 30 seconds in this chapter if you compare it to my previous PB. So that was a big time loss. And after this, I was like, well, was a fine run till now, but it's over. I won't be able to PB. I'm like 17, 15 I entered this chapter. I think in my previous PB, I entered this chapter like relatively far away from 17. Like, I think... how did I set that? I think I entered this chapter at like 1630, 1650. So, like, well under sub 17. But yeah, let's see what else this run have. So the beginning of Reflection is definitely parts where I can save a lot of time. My battle and fight is, I think I'm fine with it. I don't use really optimized strategies, but I'm really consistent with what I do in battle and fight. I just know I need to get good early parts of Reflection, and I can get like 610s, even sub 610s in this chapter already. Side note on this, my ILPB of this chapter was a day ago 6:19 or 6:20, I don't remember exactly, but before this got recorded, the day before, I practiced chapter 6 and I got 2 ILPBs relatively back to back, once a 6:16 and a 6:12, so a big improvement by just playing this chapter over and over. I didn't implement new threads, I just got really good early parts after playing them a lot more often. And with a lot more often, I mean 7 times. I played this chapter 7 times on one day, on one dedicated practice session, and I improved the chapter by 8 seconds. Shows how much potential my strats had compared to what my ILPB was before that. And that was a 150 getting to that feather. Normally, I get 156 and say it was good, really good. And now I got a 150 showing, dude, I never really practiced this chapter. If you want to know, this is the least practiced chapter. I think on most chapters I have like 30 hours of practice time. On this chapter I have 10 hours. The only other 2 chapters I practice only 10 hours are chapter 1 and 2. But chapter 1 and 2 are like 3 to 6 times smaller than this chapter. So yeah, in some way I practice chapter 1 and 2 more than this. So yeah, my least practiced chapter, still looking really, really good. Hitting that Kevin block at 236 is like, damn. Sub 230 is like really good. And at this point I said, I have potential for an ILPB. Was really scared of this developer intended skip, because on the day before this got recorded, I had another way better PB pace at this point, but I died to that developer skip like 2 times, and after this my entire mindset was like broken. I wasn't really able to focus anymore, and I lost a really good PB pace. I will tell you later maybe a little bit more about this. So yeah, 3:15 getting to battle and fight. This is like what, 15 seconds better than average, or even more, 20 seconds better than my average reflections. So I knew this is a big good attempt of chapter 6. I have photosensitive mode on. I put it on accident, and I left it on because for reasons. I don't really know a reason. It's still, photosensitive mode is still on my current Switch. So yeah, it just allows me to focus on the game more better. Who knows? It's on. Maybe I want to serve all the people who need photosensitive mode if they want to watch my stream. Not getting this feather skip. This is one of the more difficult and advanced threads I'm using. There we had a lag spike. Sometimes my capture card is giving me lags. But wasn't that unfortunate. Like, I only lost a few seconds. So yeah, this previous room and the room before that, I did a few little mistakes, but I survived that. Them both very well, just barely dodging that laser in that one room. If you saw that, was very close. So yeah, going forward in these misinputs, I think I was talking to chat there, or something. I shouldn't blame chat really, but sometimes I just gotta be honest. If I talk to the chat, or if I look at the chat, I tend to do more mistakes than normally. I think every streamer can relate to that. And if you know me, I like to talk a lot in stream because I like to have an interaction with the people who are watching me. I just don't like very focused streams where I just focus on the game. Sometimes I do if I want a PB, or if I have a really good run. But most of the times I just like to talk. Okay, back to the run. Focusing on the run now. So this battle and fight with these 2 mistakes is still like really phenomenal. Getting to the second last room, 5:22, is like, damn, that's like the fastest I've ever been here. I feel like, maybe that's wrong, but the fastest I've ever been like in this room with looking at the timer. Because when I got my ILPP 612, I wasn't looking at the timer because I don't want to distract myself. That's also like a big part of running this game. Sometimes you peek at the timer and you start making mistakes. So yeah, 550, finishing battle and fight. On good paces in the past, I said, okay, 550, getting into the last battle and room is good. Now I finish at 550. That's how much of a difference. That's how big the difference is between nowadays chapter 6s and like 1 week old or past 1 week chapter 6s, because I improved so much in this chapter, or I put my standards so much higher. Did a few mistakes in Escape, the very last section after you leveled up with Battle-In. So otherwise this would have been maybe a 613 actually, or 614. So 617, really good. I'm fine with that. And I really, one funny thing is I said in the stream, damn, that was a good chapter 6, but I need an even better summit. I need a godlike summit if I want this to PB. So yeah, let's see what happened with that godlike summit. So getting into summit, I just did that. Don't ask me how I did that. I was very lucky that I survived the second attempt, even though that was not intended as well. Like I misinputted twice in a row. But I kept playing. I wasn't really bothering around with the mistakes I did. I was just laughing about them. And that's like a really critical key part, because in the past, on a good run like this, or on a run like this, the moment I made this mistake, I would have already gave up, maybe in my mind, in my subconscious mind. But this time I was like just focusing, keep playing like you do. You have a phenomenal run in chapter 6, so let's keep that up. And yeah, that was the first death of this chapter. Already like, let's say 4 seconds, 5 seconds behind. Not the greatest start. But oh well, Summit is so huge. It's like 1/3 of the run pretty much, maybe a little bit less, but around 1/3 of the run. It is so long, no matter how many mistakes you make in the early game, you can still recover so well in the later parts of Summit, believe me. And this will be a prime example of what I just told. So city section actually went really well. I don't notice any mistake as I'm watching this right now. So I got all my strategies, no bigger mistakes. I dashed a little bit too early there. I missed the wall bounce, but I normally miss the wall bounce. Like the wall bounce is the optimal strat I want to use, but I never get it. So I just do the backup strat you see there. It's not really a backup strat. It's the amount of how often I get it. It's my main strat nowadays. So yeah, 1000 meters. The section with the Dream Hypers. I learned Dream Hypers before my break, and I never really mastered them fully. So on some days I messed them up a lot. Today, so far it looks good. Even though I missed one Dream Hyper already. Dream Hypers are just a cool way to move through this chapter, because the moment you exit a Dream block, you get ground like value. You can act like if you would be on the ground. So you can jump, you can dash them, you can hyper dash, everything you can do. So with that technique, you can dash out of dream blocks very, very quickly, because you get hyper dash momentum every time you exit a dream block. So that makes this entire section really quickly. No big mistakes, just one death, the second death of this entire chapter. But it was a minor one because the respawn point was so close. And I finished this section like 1000 meters, sub 230, which is my goal. Sub 230 is better than my old strat, so I'm fine with that. So 1500 meters, the section I have the most trouble with, because this ultra strat I just recently learned and tend to mess up every now and then. On good days I obviously don't mess it up, but we got it there. And the second ultra strat, that went really well. Like on this previous room you just saw, I was like, okay, I survived that and the previous ultra dash room. This has to be the summit. I was feeling it somehow, and also I executed both strats really well. Like sometimes they feel a little sloppy, but I still somehow managed to get the strat completed, even though it was a lot slower, or it felt a lot slower. This time I was like, okay, they looked clean as fuck for my standards. So I was going forward with a positive mind. Also, I stopped talking really in the stream. I just talked in between the cutscenes. And I was like trying to stay calm, breathe in, breathe out, and don't get too nervous, because I started to get kind of nervous because I saw, damn, this is still like a really good summit pace. And as I said, if I get a godlike summit, which I know I can, I know since a very long time that I can get low 9 summits, then this could still be a PB. So I survived Auto-Scroller Room, reached Auto-Scroller Room around the 4-minute mark, like pretty much 4 minutes or 3:59. Really good pace for me. Like that's like pretty much optimal, reaching Auto-Scroller Room at 4 minutes. And also not dying to it. Obviously really great. Auto-Scroller Rooms are the biggest punishments in the run, it feels like, because if you skip an auto-scroller, obviously it's going to take a lot of time that you lose. So going into the last room of 2000 meters, I looked at the timer at some point here and I saw like, damn, I'm finishing 2000 meters sub 5 minutes. This is like IL pace by already 10 seconds. I would say at this point. So I know I can do it. I just have to stay confident. Normally when I reach, or when I have such a good pace and I get to 2500 meters, I'm like, oh god, there are so many things I could mess up. I lose all my confidence, or a lot of my confidence. But this time I just kept playing. I just kept focusing on the game. I just tried to keep doing my thing. And even though I missed that first time, on other days I would have died there a ton, because the backup is a lot more difficult to time in my opinion. I just did it second try, so that was obviously phenomenal. And now we are getting to the more dangerous parts of 2500 meters, going through these rooms. This room I tend to die every now and then. I didn't this day. And obviously door skip. Every good summit run, I'm too scared to go for door skip. But this time I was like, well, fuck it. I have to do it. I will go for it. If I want to PB, then I need to take every second, and door skip saves 1 second. So if I want to PB, I have to take every second. So I also have to take the door skip. I did. I survived it. I reached that bubble at 6:11. I was so nervous at this point. But I knew, okay, this could be a 9-minute summit if I want to. This could be a very low 9-minute summit. I just need to stay focused. Small mess ups here, but nothing too big. I recovered from it. And I know, okay, 6:30, reaching flag 28. This could be it. This could be the most beautiful moment I've ever created in my Celeste career, you would say. So, starting here, my strats are not optimal really. There are a lot better strats you could use here, but for my laziness, they are good enough, I would say. Another mistake here. Obviously, my hands start to shake a lot more. My arms went numb pretty much at some point here. So, it was a lot harder to hold the controller and to do every input as I wished. But I still survived that section without a death. 7:12. Reaching that bubble in the downwind section, I was like, god, the fastest I've seen before was maybe 7:30. So, you know, this is huge. This is a huge summit. Upwind section feels very slow for me, but I'm very confident with it. Like, I don't utilize fast falling as often as other players, and but other than that, I feel like my movement is good enough here. There's not really that much more I could optimize, and I'm also really confident with that. Flag 13 obviously is a really big stress point. I survived it, so nothing to worry here. That would have been another big mistake that could have happened in Summit. From now on, it's just like staying cool, staying confident. Skipping flag 10, I was so scared there, but I didn't care. I had to keep moving forward because if I want a PB, I have to risk everything pretty much. And I kept moving forward. I looked at the timer pretty soon, like the moment I reached the bubble, I looked at the time, I saw 31:52. This is PB pace. I saw 8:22 reaching flag 6. I was like, God, this is so fast of a summit. And now we are here. At this moment, I really felt my heart pumping. Like on these last 40-50 seconds, I felt like boom, 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 boom. It really just started there. It's always like this on a good pace. Went for the wall bounce here, even though I never really practiced that. Like, I just was like, I was confident enough to go for the wall bounce. It's like, you don't really need to practice it, but I wasn't really used to it. That's all what I want to say here. And yeah, surviving flag 3, you can die there. Surviving flag 2. Flag 2 from my old sub 30 grind days was my biggest enemy. And flag 1, you know it. Yeah, if you have a really good run, you can still die on flag 1. It's like an easy part, but if you want to, you can die there. And there I got it, like a 9:13 707 summit. This is a 15-second summit ILPB. On top of that, I got a 12-second full game PB. So yeah, Malix cheered for me because Malix is my greatest supporter. Shoutouts to him. I love you. And yeah, I popped off so hard after this. Like, because my heart was pumping so much and I popped off so extremely, it felt like my rib broke. So my rib cage broke and I had a hard time breathing, and something was stuck somewhere around here, around where my, like, I don't know, where my rib is. And I don't want a suggested video. Whatever, let's just move a little back and pause. So that was the run. Actually, let's just move here and pause. Yeah, obviously. So that was the run, a 12-second PB. My previous time was a 32:58. So with this PB, I'm back at 5th place in Germany, which is a big number for me. I just need to beat the 4 best, which are really a lot better than the rest of us Germans. And I'm now officially the best all-time Switch runner. Obviously, everybody above me could just pick up a Switch and play the game and could get a better time than me easily. But from all the people who run this game on Switch or kept running this game on Switch, whatever was going on, even though Switch was not the optimal version, I'm now the best one. I beat Gigs. Gigs retired from this game 1 year ago. Otherwise, he would probably be a ton better than me. And also Mr. Ike retired like nearly a year ago as well. So now I'm best Switch runner and also only active high-level Switch runner, which means a lot to me. When I started Celeste, I never thought I could become the best Switch runner of this game. I never thought I could get to a 32. A lot of work and a lot of dedication and a lot of love for this game paid off, and now I am at a really good position. I got a really good time. I got a time I'm proud of. Also, shoutouts to all the people who keep watching me, keep watching my streams, really motivating me and cheering on me, and just fun to talk around with them. If you want to be a part of my community, then check out the stream, Discord and Twitter. All my social media links are in the description, and I hope you like this commentated run. I don't see that many people commentate their speedruns, but I find it quite interesting because it gives, a neat look over the run. So I hope you like it. I hope you watch this. If you enjoyed it, you may share it with people who like, hey, did you see a Celeste speedrun? And they say no, then you share them this one because maybe you like the commentary of it. That would be awesome. And see you all soon in another video. Bye.